Hello everyone, welcome back to Final Fantasy 12, the Zodiac Age Struggle for Freedom, and we are going to finally be done with this area within the next few minutes, the Nam Yensa Sand Sea. I'm just picking up from where I left off from last time. Basically, the only interesting thing that does happen is me taking on the Wyvern Lord, which is, actually it's not as easy as it looks, but it is still a rather manageable fight, once I get there. So basically, one thing I did notice too is that, one thing you'll definitely notice if you've been just fighting so many enemies is that your allies definitely get a lot of license points at this moment, especially if you have been binge grinding and not leveling up your license points. You can do that in a sense that you can level up whenever you like. Just as long as you have a set path, planned out. I know in vanilla, and I'm just saying this in the PS2's case, as much as I didn't particularly enjoy the PS2 version for the longest time, at the very least you can plan out what ability you want to master for any of your characters if you have something in mind. However, ultimately, you're going to want to master the whole board anyways, because everyone else is going to basically just be the same. So the best you really make out of that is, whatever path you want to put them on, in theory, you can just put them on there. At least with the Zodiac Age PS4 remastered version, you actually, you just simply go by which class will work for you. Or you can just save them up, so that way when you unlock an Esper for the first time, which we'll be doing in the next few parts after Wraithwall's Tomb happens. I know in the case of the regular version Zodiac Age, you can actually unlock a second class board immediately and then level up that board. One thing I didn't know, though, admittedly, for the longest time, I've always thought that you gotta once you switch class boards in Zodiac Age, you're stuck on that second board for good. You can't go back to it. But I found out later that you can switch back and forth between which license board you want to level up. So that is actually a bit of a sigh of relief for those who are just curious or worried that you might run into something like that, which thankfully you don't, because you can switch back and forth between, let's say, for example, Bushido and White Mage among one of your characters, and then you can just simply switch back and forth between equipping whatever weapon type you want. Although, one thing to note about both classes is that since Bushido and White Mage can both equip Mystic Armor, it doesn't really change much of anything, although the only thing that would change is the amount of abilities or augments you have to unlock. Because the stuff you already unlocked from the first board will carry over to the second board. The only thing you would have to learn as anything new is the spells and other augments that might go along with it. That's really about it. That said, though, it is interesting that in regular Zodiac Age, anyways, that you can mix and match whichever class you want, and you tend to try to go for the combination of classes that you can benefit the most without having to miss out on something new you could learn. Because the more things you master in that game, the more powerful your character ends up being, with all things considered. But in Struggle for Freedom's case, it's basically where you either can't get your quickenings mastered until very late, or rather late in this game, or if you chose the Freedom one, you can go around in whatever order that you like without being too restricted. So there's always that, especially if you do end up getting accessories that you couldn't equip before, but you want to as soon as possible, so you can make the most out of it. So pretty much other than that, that's the only other differences I can think of right now when it comes to grinding lights. If I have not mentioned it in any previous part, I'm just mentioning it here. Because what you're basically seeing is just me doing a lot of the same thing I've been doing these past, 5-6 parts already, at this point. Because the Sand Sea is really, really a long area. It's really big. And it will take you at least maybe maybe a couple hours if you're looking to go around everywhere just to be able to find and grind everything. If you're just going to simply skip the enemies, then you would have to hold down the fleeing button a lot just so you can just zip right through this area, because you are seeing a lot of the same enemies, although you would miss out on some experience. And for me as an RPG player, I don't like to miss out on experience if I can help it. Like I'll run from a battle if I think I either grinded enough or if I'm really having a difficult time dealing with some enemies, and then just find the next save point so I can have a little bit of sanctuary. But me personally, I do like to go after pretty much anything I can fight, and avoid the ones I just simply can't. I know it's a standard rule of thumb, and it's not that terribly surprising. But some people just rather just rush through the enemies without having to fight them, just run away from all of them and just get to the bosses. Which is understandable, because you really want to get a move on. That, and you kind of do want to skip out. I guess the only benefit of skipping out on so much of the grinding is that I know that in previous Final Fantasies, you can get a lot of experience. If you face bosses at low levels, you can kind of jump up that way. I know that's the case in, for example, Final Fantasy IV, where if you were to skip all random encounters for the boss fights, if you're good about that, like conserving your health and items and stuff like that, you could theoretically do it. But it's just generally not the best idea, because there will be some bosses that will just hit you so hard that not even items can save you. But again, if you're the type that just skips out on the grind and just goes straight to the bosses, then you either have a brilliant strategy despite being very low level, or you got something to prove. I know I'm going on a bit of a rant. Anyways, we got the balance spell. Basically, what that spell does is you will deal damage based on the amount of HP that you lost. So it's basically you're subtracting the current HP from your max HP. So it's kind of like max HP minus current HP. So basically, that's how the balance formula works. I don't remember the specific gambit to get balance to work if you're in critical, because I know balance is a very tricky spell to pull off, especially since you build your team to be so oriented, what's the term? So focused on healing your allies when they're in critical, because generally you don't want them to die. Unless you're doing one of those things where you have godlike evasion, but very little HP, like critical health, as a matter of fact. If you have like godlike evasion and you're immune to all stats or whatever, then I guess you can pull off balance, especially since you had a high HP count to begin with. It just hit a lot of enemies really hard, but that's generally only good in certain boss fights. I don't know how often I'll be able to show off the balance spell, but hey, if I can, I can, you know? Excuse me. Because later on in the game, spells like Flare and what was that other black magic spell that's really super powerful? I can't remember off the top of my head right now. It's been really a long time. But either way, whatever that is, it is a stronger spell than Flare, and it can deal well over 10,000 damage or so, depending on your magic stat. I actually can't remember what that is. Just give me 1 second on that one. No, actually, yeah, I had to think about that for a second, and I actually remember what it was now. It was actually Scathe. Yeah, that's the name. Scathe is a ridiculously strong spell, and it's reflectable, which makes it even more bonkers. So pretty much there, you're just killing a lot of enemies in that range, unless somehow they have the reflect spell on. I know that in Wraithwall's Tomb, if you're able to kill, I might mention this again in the next part. But I do know that in Wraithwall's Tomb, if you kill the demon gates, the first and the second one, you're able to open a secret path that leads you to the Skaith Moat, and with that, you basically have a very powerful moat that can just nuke the entire enemy party. Which is something that you don't have to go out your way to get if you don't want to. I think you do get a PS4 trophy if you do it though. But we'll get to that. I'll get into more detail about that in the next part, because I know where we're gonna be at that point. Oh, excuse me. Sorry if I sound a little bit tired. Got home a little while ago from work, and I did record this actually yesterday. I just never got around to doing it because, you know, Valentine's Day and all. I had to spend the night with my lovely girlfriend. Yep, and I do the jump cut right here. It's probably for the long record scratcher right there. I do the jump cut right here because I actually level up my characters via, you know, with the license board, and I do take several minutes to go over where I can level up. So and I just want to cut that out because you guys don't really need to see that, you know, during gameplay. I do another jump cut somewhere. I think it's after this hunt boss fight. It's gonna be coming up in a second. Basically, the Wyvern Lord, just to give you a bit of an idea, a Wyvern Lord is a flying enemy, obviously. So unless you have telekinesis or like a longbow or a gun, you're not gonna be able to hit the thing with physical attacks. Your best bet, other than that, is to hit him with magic, and magic is kind of in limited supply. Even with the skill charge, it can only restore so much MP until you can just land a couple more hits and they have to restore MP again. So you would either have to have a healthy supply of ethers or even elixirs for that matter in order to keep on going the assault, which is why I recommend you bring Vossler with you, because he already has telekinesis with him. And that will allow, and what telekinesis does, it draws the flying enemy closer to the user, so it makes it easier for you to hit them. So if you are going to take out the Wyvern Lord now, this is the time I would suggest you would do it, because you would have the ability necessary to, at least attempt to fight him. Other than that, you won't be able to get telekinesis until I think way later in the game. And even by then, your character will be pretty pimped out. You can probably just take him out really easy if you wait much later. But I kind of prefer to do it as soon as possible. You know, whenever I can help it, of course. That way, I can reduce the amount of backtracking I would have to do later on. Because ultimately, if you're going to be going after, if you are going to be going after the marks in this game, whether it's via a tavern or a clan hunt, you are going to have to revisit a number of areas at some point, especially if you want to get to the. Excuse me again. Especially if you want to get to the optional super boss, one of the optional super bosses you can fight. Okay, so here is the Wyvern Lord. It will get about 4 Bagalies with them, and they're not incredibly tough to take out, but it can be a bit annoying because they can just rack up damage on you very quickly if you don't address it. So I do recommend you take out the Bagalies first, if you can. And if you have any gear that can resist wind, that can be really nice, can help you withstand damage just a little bit better. Unfortunately, I didn't do it for all my characters, well, I couldn't be able to do it. But if you can help it, try to save your higher equipment options until after you beat Wyvern Lord, because having equipment that can have the damage from wind can be really nice, especially if you want to spend less time healing and more time dealing damage. And I would definitely also switch out your party members depending on who has the longer range and who can hit them from longer range. The reason why I also keep Penella in here is because oh my god, I'm so tired. Yeah, the reason why I keep Penella here is because with Cura healing for at least over 1,000, that can help. That can allow me to spend less time healing, and then just let the some of my other characters just go to town on them. Of course, you do want to watch out for the... I think this boss can inflict the petrification countdown on you. Don't quote me on it. I know he can inflict immobile, as you can see right here. Wily Lord really can't move at the moment. Of course, it was just me trying to figure out what would be the best thing to do. Oh yeah, I think I remember what I was doing now. I set the gambit for Ash to cast the dark spell because her magic is going to be pretty helpful at this point. So I'll definitely gonna make use of that. Especially I don't have to keep going back in the menu like over and over and over again. I also make sure that Ash can use charge now, so that way in case she runs low on MP for any reason, she can give herself a little bit of MP back and then go back on the attack for just a little bit. Because every little bit helps, you know? Here's another strange thing with the gambit system too, is you can in theory not have to buy all the gambits because there are a few things that will work the same way. Anyways, like for example, if you put ally any and the action on ally any would be Phoenix down, they will still use that Phoenix down if that ally has been knocked out. You don't have to specifically set it to ally status KO in order for Phoenix down to automatically activate. You can do the same thing with the other status healing items as well, like remedies or serums and things like that. Serums can be a bit tough to stock up on because of the I think it's the virus stat or the zombie stat. I think it's one of those two. But the one it's the status effect that cuts your max HP all the way down to 1, depending on how much damage you've taken. So, and you can't heal either, which is really annoying. It's one of the more brutal status effects to deal with. But thankfully, I don't have to deal with that until it's very, very late in the game, where you do want to stock up on serums, or you can get Spell Cleanse. That can be another one. Or if you happen to score a couple ribbons somewhere. Ribbons are like super good in this game. Alright, so hopefully we can take out this guy soon. That's the thing about these Mark hunts, is that they get really aggressive if they're very low on HP. So the best thing you can do about that is have a very strong healer on you that can respond to that. Oh my god, I'm so sorry once again. That can respond to the somehow overly aggressive attacks that the monsters can dish out on you. And then pretty much when you're done, you just reset the gambits back to how you normally would set it. Alright, I'm switching back in and out of my party members here, because I think Balthier already served its purpose at that point. The reason why I like to have the leaders either be Vaughn, Balthier, or Fran in most cases, because if I had the chance to steal something, especially when I'm trying to grind for loot, I would do that. If I'm not going to grind, then I just pick whoever as the party leader and not really care too much about stealing, because I would have a boatload of money at that point. And yes, there are some other guild farming methods you can also do throughout the game. I already mentioned several parts ago that the bone fragments or some of them, the succulent fruits are another. And there'll be other more better money spots to go through throughout the game in case you need to buy something or need to restock on something. Yeah, I mean, that is pretty much all I can really say about this area at this point. However, we do finally enter the area where you do fight the gorilla in front of Wraithwall's tomb entrance, you will be given an option to save, which is something I would recommend you do after you visit the traveling merchant and restock on items or get some new equipment or something, because you will probably need it, chances are. Alright, hopefully that I can get rid of these Bagalies at some point. Getting large feathers is nice, but kill them is also it's a priority 1 for me. Okay, so it looks like I think we can finally be done with this area. There we are. Man, I'm so young. I hope I don't caught like a chain reaction across the internet. Alright. So I think now that, yes, this is the last pit stop before the boss fight that you can make before you do anything. That definitely sell you loot here, especially if you've been trying to grind for loot. And you can pick up some stuff that you weren't able to get at that point. So I jump cut all my selling and buying process, and I think at this point I call it here, because this is pretty much the end of a pretty lengthy part otherwise. So next time we meet, we will finally be exploring King Wraithwall's tomb in an effort to claim the Dawn Shard. Until then, see you later.